Well, hello from the Waitangi National Reserve, and the building behind me is the entrance to the Treaty Center here at the Waitangi National Reserve. The Treaty Center is the spot most significant in history of New Zealand. It's where the Maori, the native New Zealanders, and the British settlers signed a treaty. I'm not sure what year that was signed. Maybe we'll find out when we go inside. But anyway, so I'm going to take a nice tour of the Treaty Center and actually see a performance done at about 11 o'clock. It's a performance that I saw on some tourist videos before coming here to New Zealand, and I'm really happy that I'm able to share the performance with you as well. So let's go on inside. Okay, so speaking of performance, there is one of the Maori performers right there that we're going to see here in just a few minutes. Some tourists are asking to get a nice pose with him. So let's go see if we can meet him. Alright, so walking into the Treaty Center, I come across this gentleman here, Opera, and obviously you are one of the performers, yes? Yep. So I see a lot of tourists, they're coming up here and they're doing poses with you, yes? So let's do one of these poses together for everybody. How does it, tell me, what do I need to do this pose?
Widen the eyes and treat the tongue.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me try this. Show me that one more time. Alright, so here we go. Let me try. Ready? Should I have a stick like this?
Yes, if you want.
Okay,
There you go.
like this.
Yep.
So I go like that?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, awesome. Well done.
Oh, okay. So there you go from the Waitangi Treaty Center. Let's go on inside. Now you're going to do a performance a little bit later?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And this performance that you're going to do for us, this was, as I understand my history, this is something that the Maoris did to show fear to the enemy.
Fright to the enemy. Act of defiance.
And when you go out in town on a Friday night or something, do you do this sometimes? If somebody is bothering your girlfriend, do you go up and go like this?
I walk away.
Oh, you walk away. Okay. Okay, I don't know. You know, I would think that, you know, maybe he would go something like this, but it doesn't work these days, huh?
No.
No? All right. Thanks so much. All right. All right, so having my formal greeting taken care of, I found myself inside the lobby of the entrance, and you can see a nice carving up there of a British settler with a Maori, and then just over the actual entrance, it looks like there is a copy of the treaty. So I would assume that somewhere inside they probably have this the actual document would be my guess. So we'll go on inside and take a look. Just inside the entrance, I spotted this just to the side of the walkway, and what you're looking at there, it's a bud of a fern. And the woman, I promised I wouldn't mention her name on my videos anymore. She has this on her as her what's called an avatar. It's her little picture on Skype, and I just couldn't figure out what the heck it was. And if I zoom out, you'll see that it is the beginning of one of these beautiful branches on this plant here. So I'm going to continue on with my tour. The performance will actually be starting here in about 30 minutes, so I don't want to miss that. Okay, so if you were negotiating, how would you like to be negotiating with this gentleman sitting across the table from you? Huh? Quite an interesting face, to say the least. And here's another interesting face that would have been sitting across from the negotiating table as well. Okay, now that's a face that I could negotiate with. Doesn't he look like a nice guy? Okay, when you first come out of the building where the gift shop is, you see this beautiful walkway that'll take you back to the rest of the exhibits. And it is a very, very picturesque setting. And if you look at this tree, right here. Zoom in on the trunk of this tree. You can see, looks like those are all ferns that were hanging down. Give you a nice shot of that as we continue on up the path where we're going to watch the performance. If you want to enjoy a nice flat white, I can't think of a better spot to do it than at the cafe here at the Waitangi Treaty grounds. And you can see some folks there just relaxing, enjoying their Saturday morning. And the setting is just beautiful. Look at that. Just a gorgeous setting. That would be a really nice backdrop for a picture, I'm sure. I wish that woman that I promised I wouldn't mention her name, I wish that she were here so I could be taking some nice pictures of her. And there is the war canoe that you'll see here in just a moment as I find my way down there. Here is the building that houses this large canoe that was used by the Maori, and we'll go inside and take a look here in just a moment. I just thought I'd share with you the carvings that are on the front of this. I guess you might call this a Maori boathouse, huh? So I'll give you a nice shot of the various carvings that you'll see here. You can see that they tattooed themselves. And also the male appendage, as I understand it, as you see there, was a very significant part of their culture. So you'll see that representation over and over again throughout the various carvings that you'll see. There are the various faces. There's the tongue sticking out. They would stick that tongue out, as the gentleman was saying earlier. They would stick out the tongue to frighten people. Okay, so let's go see this performance, shall we? What you're looking at is a carving on the very front of this large canoe that I'm about to show you. And this is a canoe that was carved from one of those large trees that I was just showing you the stump. And as I come back a little bit, I'll show you the intricate carvings on the, I believe this is the stern of the canoe. So massive, massive canoe. And as the Maori would sail through the waters here of the South Pacific, they would use these paddles, and they would just, between, I guess, rows, they would pound on the ship and just create a massive noise. So you can see all along the side there's carvings, Maori carvings of different faces. So just a massive ship here. I'll just see if I can't just walk the length here to give you some perspective.
Those two chiefs, that's got the treaty. Remember the first one I was saying was Puri Heke?
Just massive.
The other one was Kawaki. By 1844,
I don't know how long they were sailing the sea, but I just can't even imagine. I don't think that they had Dramamine back in those days. Wow. What a canoe. I'd have to say this is probably the largest canoe that I've ever seen. And I'm sure that there'll be a carving on the back of the canoe as well. This is maybe where the chief sat, huh? Right here. And then maybe on the back of the, maybe on the very back they'll have the rear end of the man we saw up on the very front. Let's take a look. Nope, no butt on the back, but anyway. So that gives you some perspective of the size of this canoe. Alright, I found my way over to the stump of a large Maori tree, and this is a tree that would have been used to make the canoe that I'm about to show you from. Very, very large. Looks like the size of a redwood or like a giant sequoia tree.
I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this house before the show starts in about 5 minutes, because we have a few more people coming up. So you're standing in front of what is known as a whare runanga, or a carved meeting house. Has anyone ever been into one of these houses before? No. A few people? Yesterday? Where was that?
Just here. We just had a look at it.
You came to this one? Okay. This house is really unique in New Zealand. There's thousands of these houses all around the country, and everyone is at the centre of each Maori community. So in the north here we have hundreds of houses like this, but this house here is very special. That's because it was built for all the people of New Zealand. And it was built over 6 years, from 1934 to 1940. And it was opened in 1940 to celebrate the centenary of the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi. So that's why it's such an important house in our history. Does anyone have a New Zealand $50 note? Yeah? Can I have it?
Oh, you may borrow it.
I'll borrow it. I promise I'll give it back.
I know the way the treaties go in this land. So.
You want to do that here? Perfect. Okay, so the reason I've just taken this lady's money is to show you the front of the New Zealand $50 note. You can see a Maori gentleman there, and that is Sir Apirana Ngata. And he was a Maori politician back in the 1920s and 30s, and it was his idea to build this house as a balance for the British house over here. And you can see just to his left, well, to his right, you can see this house. That's our whare on the New Zealand $50 note. So that explains how important it is to New Zealand. There you go. Thank you very much. So these houses are built in the form of the human body, and you just have to use a bit of imagination to see that. But if you look at the top, you can see underneath the figure at the top, and I'll talk about him in a minute, you can see the head of the house. Underneath the head you can see the arms to each side, and at the end you can see the fingers. And then on either side you can see the legs. So have any of you ever seen the All Blacks do the haka? So you'll see that they stand like this. It's effectively what this house is doing, except the arms are open in a gesture of welcome, to welcome you inside the house. Right through the middle of the house, you'll see it inside, you'll see a big carved ridgepole. That's the spine of the house. And then you'll see the ribs going down. So Maori people believe that when you go into a house like this, you're actually entering into the womb of the ancestor. So they're very sacred places. Above the door, when you walk in, you'll walk under a carved figure of a woman, a female ancestor of the house, with all her private parts exposed, and that to Maori people means you'll be walking into the belly of the ancestor. Okay, so it's a very sacred place, and that's why when we go into the house we have to take our shoes off, because out here is where the battles and the war and the bloodshed and everything would have been, and we don't take that into the house, because the house is a place of peace. And in Maori culture you never mix war with peace, sacred with secular, all that sort of thing. So what you're going to experience this morning is a traditional welcome that makes it safe for you as the visitors to go into the house. So you're very...
Kia ora!
Kia ora.
Awesome! Welcome to the Waitangi Treaty grounds, and welcome to your cultural experience today. My name is Anita, and I'm going to tell you the proceedings of this formal occasion. So we are going to start off with the traditional Maori welcoming ceremony. This is known as the pōwhiri. This is to determine your intentions as visitors, so it's all about whether or not you come in peace, or not so much. How are we feeling?
Peaceful.
Awesome, peaceful and good, fabulous. So our ceremony will begin with warriors stepping forth from the meeting house, or the marae. One of our warriors will have a token of peace. It is our job as visitors to accept this token of peace, to make our peaceful intentions known. So for this part of the ceremony, gentlemen, I need a chief. Do I have any brave volunteers? Yes, sir? Come forward. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
What is your name?
Neil.
Neil. Chief Neil, everybody. Okay, Chief, now you have a very simple but important job. Your job is to accept the token of peace as laid down by one of our warriors. Okay. Once Chief has accepted this token of peace, we'll then hear karanga, or call of welcome, given by one of our maidens at the meeting house. This is just to let us know that we're being warmly invited in and we are now friends. I will reply with a call today, and when I do, we can all start moving forward together very slowly towards the meeting house. Then we can go ahead and take a seat. Except for you, Chief. You have a big speech to do. So we'll all take a seat and we'll listen to the speech of welcome given by one of our warriors. And then, Chief, you reply with a little speech of your own. So just remember to keep it brief, and it's just to thank them for their welcome. Okay. Before we enter the meeting house, it is protocol that we remove our shoes. This is a very formal occasion. There is to be no smiling, no laughing, and no talking. However, once we enter the meeting house, that's when all the fun begins. So we can go ahead and sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have any questions? Any questions, Chief?
No, at all.
Okay, our ceremony will now begin.
Kia ora, ladies and gentlemen. You have just been accorded a traditional Maori welcome, which ends here with the hongi, or the pressing of noses. This is the highest honour we the Maori can pay another person. Could you please give your chief a big round of applause?
Kia ora, ladies and gentlemen, we are your performing group, Te Pito Whenua. We'd like to welcome you here to the Waitangi Treaty ground and especially to your multicultural experience today, where we hope to share some small aspects of our culture with you all at this time. Now at this time we are going to attempt to do something that we have been told is impossible to do. We are going to attempt to transport each and every one of you back into time. Are you ready? Well, unfortunately we cannot do this. However, the point I make is that our ancestors were very spiritual people. Their stories and their genealogies were handed down through the many carved and open panels that you see all around you in this meeting house today. These stories were also transferred through from tribal waiata or songs, some of which we will share with you all now.
I find my way back out now after a fantastic performance. Highly recommend that performance if you come here. So you can see the beautiful expansive lawn here. And the British equivalent to that home is right over here. We'll go take a look at that now. Okay, you're looking at the parlor of the British Residency from 1836 to 1840, and it was occupied by a British man named Busby, B-U-S-B-Y, I believe. And here is a picture of, here is a representation of the room as it was back then. Who knows, maybe it's exactly the same. And this is where the British met to go over the final details of the agreement that they were going to make with the Maori people. So it's a very small 4-room cottage here, and I'll take you through the different rooms, but this is the parlor. And here you're looking at the bed of the British man, Mr. Busby, and his lovely wife. You can see a very modest room, but $1 million view right out the window. Here's a small crib right there, and here's yet even a smaller, looks like a small crib, and here is a representation of Sarah, the first daughter of James and Agnes Busby. And then I think right behind her you have her bed right there. So they all slept, looks like they all slept in the same room here. On the rear of the parlor and the bedroom, they are showing you this is called brick nogging, the brickwork within the timber framing of the original back outside of the residency. It's called brick nogging. And I'm just going to walk you through, and then this is actually the chimney. This is the back of the surviving chimney of the residency, built in 1833. And the bricks were shipped from Sydney, and they're sandstock and rather soft. And then over here we have the framing. And the timber for the house of James Busby was pre-cut in Sydney, and the framing is known as scantling. It's generally made of Sydney blue gum, eucalyptus. So there you have it. And I found my way out to the rear of the home. And you know, I gotta say, if I were living in the 1800s, this definitely would not be a bad place to live. I could just imagine the Busby children playing out here and being called for supper. And just really a beautiful, beautiful little home. Here's an exhibit just within the same building of the Bay of Islands, and there you see looks like a whaling harpoon that would have been used by the ships. And then over here, it looks like they have provisions, and you can see there's a pig that they brought over. He doesn't look too happy to be tied up such as he is. I think that's what they call hog-tied. But looks like they have some potatoes as well. There's a nice wool sweater. The hellhole of the Pacific. I cannot imagine this being a hellhole. But here is a picture of Busby. And then here is a depiction of how he would have been greeted. Can you imagine? And what visit to the Waitangi Treaty Center wouldn't be complete without actually showing you I can't imagine that this is the original, but nonetheless, here is in essence, their Declaration of Independence, I think. And you can see, well, look at that. There's Ronald Reagan's signature. I'll be darned. Okay. Ronald Reagan is one of my favorites. And then just over here, to provide ships built in New Zealand with a national flag under which to sail, and as the first steps towards settled government, Busby asked the northern chiefs to select a national flag for New Zealand. In 1834, about 25 chiefs from the Bay of Islands gathered at Waitangi to choose the first flag. The chosen flag was already used by the Anglican missionaries. It was approved by the British Admiralty as the national flag of New Zealand and remained in official use until replaced by the Union Jack in 1840. And on my way out, I saw this. This is a fishing village here on the Waitangi Treaty grounds, and I'm going to take a walk through here and see what this looks like. And just to give you some perspective, it's right on the water. And I'm actually looking at some blue sky breaking through, so I may actually just go ahead and take a nice cruise here in the Bay of Islands. Right here you're looking at a pataka, and that is a raised storehouse, and it was used for storing food and other items of value. Right there. And come back over here, you've got a cooking shelter. Cooking was generally done by women, usually in a hongi, an earth oven. And then over here you have what's called a ware. Hut was used for sleeping. They were framed with manuka. The walls and roof were made of raupo and naku palm fronds. So I think I would rather stay up at the Busby's residence than down here in the fishing village. But what is this? Rua kumara. Kumara, sweet potato, was a much valued food and was kept in underground stores. The walls and roof of the pits were made from ponga. So there you have a Rua kumara for sweet potatoes. Come back over here. Here's a nice picture of the hut, or the roof of the hut rather. Very beautiful day as far as temperature is concerned. And this is a wata. Elevated platforms were used for drying and storing food. And as I'm filming this, I see what I believe is the ferry that takes you from Paia over to Russell. So that would be the passenger ferry, I believe. I've seen that going back and forth throughout the morning. So there you go. Okay, so I'm going to, I believe I'm going to go take a cruise. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, on my way out I came across these two birds, and I think that's a mother on the right and the baby. You can see the mother is feeding it some fruit that she found. I'm assuming it's the mother. Sure. Look at that. I don't know the name of this bird, but I'm sure that somebody out there on YouTube land will leave a comment as far as what the name is. That's a nice sight, isn't it?